Now, this one starts off with an absolutely amazing starter. We have some friends that decide to trespass. Completely their fault that they die, so you can't exactly feel bad for them. But at the same time, you don't deserve to get murdered for breaking the law. That is like should be common knowledge, but after the Black Lives Matter movement and people justified the murder of George Floyd because like he did bad stuff in the past, like no, that doesn't mean he should have been murdered. But apparently that's not common knowledge. But anyway, let's go back to the segment. Um we get these friends, they get killed, but they come back to life. All their deaths are just it's heartbreaking the way it's filmed. Like I didn't expect it to hit so hard, especially for the first segment. Like this girl gets her jaw shot off. This other friend is begging his friend to start the boat. Um, but they're getting shot at from far away with, a long distance gun. They're hopeless. There's no chance of survival. But as we had saw earlier, there was a no swimming sign too that they also ignored. And the water has made them immortal. Though unfortunately, two of their friends died. One of them was one of the character's sisters. Was one of the character's sister. Then another one I think was a boyfriend. I don't know. So naturally they're still upset because yeah, they may be alive, but they lost two of their friends because they didn't go in the water, so they didn't become immortal. I thought they were gonna like drag them into the water, and that was like how the segment was gonna end. Like that they would be absolutely horrified with what their friends had done. But no, they didn't go that route. I think it was definitely better. They decide that they want to get revenge and they're not gonna kill the person that killed them. They repeatedly say guy and him, which will be important later. Um, but they're just gonna do the same thing that he did to them. Then we move on to the next segment. I thought it was just going to be like, oh, we just have to imagine what they ended up doing to him. But we will find out soon enough that that is not actually what happened. The second segment, I didn't really care for. It's a segment about how um, we have too much technology and it's killed God. Um, this is supposed to take place in 1985. I think that's a little unrealistic, even for VHS standards. I mean, VHSs were still being made as far as like 2004 because I had a Cat in the Hat VHS. Um, I think they should have tried to do some early 2000s VHS instead of going backwards into 1985. But it makes sense, VHS was definitely dying out by the 2000s. DVDs were taking over. DVDs are just far superior, You can start the movie and at any time you can check you can go to scenes if you want to start at a specific scene. With the VHS, you always had to rewind all the way back to the beginning to rewatch a movie. It kind of sucked. They could have improved VHSs maybe, but they didn't. Um, but yeah, anyway, the segment, she ends up getting killed by the new god that she had created, and they clap. I think the makeup for her kill was amazing, but I didn't really care for the segment. She talks about how they've basically created a new god, so it's kind of like, she, you know, believes in it. Yet later, she talks about how it's like a myth. I just didn't care for it. The third segment is this big family gathering, and, you think it's normal at first. I will say that, I didn't know Roman numerals, so I didn't know the number seven. So, it felt like a plot twist to me. Like I pieced it together. Um, because, once I realized that they had killed people, and they had like killed 7 people. I was like, oh, that's how many people died in the first one. And it was an amazing it was amazing feeling that I had put it together, but I guess it was supposed to be more obvious if you knew the Roman numerals, but I didn't. I just thought it was like a random cult sign on their van. Um, so yeah, the police end up doing a raid and killing all the cult members. But one of them comes back to life. So they had fulfilled on their promise of doing the exact same thing he had did to them, except it was a girl that had killed them. And they were told not to shame the family, and if they had to kill themselves. But when she ends up offing herself, she comes back to life because they had gave the kid, one of the kids, a spray gun, and they had put the water from the lake that made people immortal, so she couldn't kill herself. So she's just doomed and embarrassed her family now. Absolutely amazing segment. Just loved it. Another one of the segments is about a TV show host. She gets killed pretty early in. I thought she would have been one of the main characters. But an earthquake happens, and there is a ancient god like under there. It was a fine segment. Honestly, I really don't have much to say about it. It had kind of a funny ending. Like, the girl just strips all her clothing off and then she dies by the god too. I guess she sacrificed herself. It's kind of like that one scene in there was that Metal Rock movie I'd watched not too long ago. That was a horror comedy. It was something Gasm. It was called Deathgasm. Now, one of my favorite segments is definitely this one. I can't even describe it. It's just insane to me on how they thought of this. They bring back a character from VHS 99. It's a different character, but it's played by the same actor. One of the dipshits that got killed in the shredding segment. He can see the future basically, and he tries to warn the cops by sending in these VHS tapes of these murders that he sees happening. The creepy thing is obviously, these segments, these murders, they're happening the exact same way. It's the exact same person. And it happens days later. It really freaks the cops out. Just a really fun segment. The plot twist that I personally don't really think is a plot twist is that his dad is committing the murders. Felt a little obvious. Just me. He gave me that vibe. The cop decides to give him the benefit out of the doubt for some reason because they're friends, even though he found out that the people that had died were accusing him of sexual assault and stuff. Giving your friend the benefit of the doubt in that situation is just nuts to me. If my friend was accused of sexual assault, I would not give him the benefit of the doubt. So of course he gets shot to death in the house. The segments that are showing how the murders happen are just amazing. Personally, one of my favorite kills in the movie is the guy that gets killed by the dad. He is the attorney of the girls that are coming out against him. And he gets his fingers chopped off. He's getting thrown around. It's just an amazing segment. It's just so cool. He ends up getting, his undoing because, like, they had already told us, he sees the future. So the son knows that he's going to survive and his dad's going to die. And, just fucking awesome the way he dies, too. He takes a lot of cops with him. Don't know how he was able to just walk in past them with a fucking shotgun just for them later to come get him. It's like a police station. A little bit unrealistic. I honestly don't care though because it leads to such a fucking cool scene. And, amazing segment. It would have been cool to end it there, but they give us another amazing segment with aliens. And we haven't seen aliens since I think like VHS 1. It obviously ends badly. It's a lot of fun though. And it was actually a wraparound. We finally got a good wraparound. The VHS 2 wraparound was okay, but wraparounds just are obviously the weakest part of the VHS movies. Like, personally, they don't bother me that much. It makes sense that they have to have something to connect all these things together. Though they're not really needed in my opinion. Like, I don't care if you connect these segments together. For all I care, you can just start the movie and have a bunch of segments, and just when a segment ends, go to the next one. But, gotta have continuity, try and make these things make sense. It's a lot of fun. There's this alien that's mimicking people. One girl realizes that it's going a little too far because one of the persons he's mimicking has never been in the room, and it's a one-way mirror. So why is he mimicking this person he should have never seen? But that means he can see through the one-way mirror. I think it's a little bit unbelievable that they just kind of wipe it off like, oh, he's just learning. Like, no, you should be a little bit concerned at least that he's mimicking someone he shouldn't be able to see. But, he ends up like faking being sick, and he brutally murders one of the guys. And then he murders another girl, and then he murders everybody. But it ends with a pretty funny way that he had saw like stuff on TV and he wanted to mimic that. Just wow. This has by far been one of my favorite VHSs from at least, this new trilogy. VHS 1 and VHS 2 are just unbeatable in my opinion. They have a lot of good segments. But man, this was definitely the best out of the 3 new ones.